head to get him to do something is not leadership. That's coercion. A leader is a leader who is there to develop their followers, to care for their followers, to promote their followers throughout their profession. Most of us don't want to work for the village idiot, but some of us do at some point in our career. But at times, the village idiot could be a good thing, right? Because maybe that village idiot may not have the high IQ, or the cognition, or the intellect to lead through certain things, but perhaps there's something about them. Perhaps there's something about their emotional or their social intelligence that enables them to engender a sense of trust, where you will trust them to the point where perhaps you will go into harm's way. Now, ideally, you want somebody who's brilliant and has high social and high emotional intelligence. That's not always going to be there. But somebody who you can trust is virtually everything. Those of you who think leaders are made, raise your hand, please. So most of you believe that leaders can be made. How can that possibly be? Now, certainly there are some traits that we tend to attribute to successful leaders. We expect them to be intelligent. We typically think that they look a certain way. And there are many stories that are kind of interesting to draw this point. Any of you ever hear of the Nixon-Kennedy debate? I think about 1960. I'm a baby boomer. I was born in 1955. So I don't know how many people out there were around in 1960 to hear that. But the interesting part of it is that the people who heard that debate on the radio thought that Richard Nixon won. That based upon his knowledge, the content of his responses, they thought he won that debate. But the people who saw it on TV saw something different, and they perceived that John F. Kennedy won. But yet they heard the same answers. So we tend to attribute some sort of an image, some sort of a myth to leadership. And that's something we have to get out of our heads. A leader can be anybody. It's not a matter of looks, it's not necessarily a matter of IQ. Anybody can learn to be a leader. I firmly believe, and I was taught this at West Point in a faculty development program back around 1993, that we can give you a toolbox, and we can fill that toolbox with leadership, skills, knowledge, and abilities. Skills, knowledge, and abilities are known as SKAs. Now we can give you that toolbox, and we can set you loose upon the world, but will that enable you to lead? Probably not, because what is going to be missing? You might not have, or perhaps you will, but you probably will not necessarily have right away that right balance of emotional and social intelligence. That is something that I believe, and Daniel Goleman, who wrote the books, and there's many of the videos that we have available through Harvard Business Review, that it's a matter of brain chemistry. It's a matter of genes that predispose you as a person, as a personality, to be able to lead.
I am a career Army officer. I did grow up in New York, and after 24 years of serving in combat units throughout the, the world, the Army decided to send me home, which is nice, and then made me a garrison commander, which is also nice. It's always an honor to command anything, but now I'm in a new career field, right? So I'm now doing installation management, which is completely different than the combat arms side of the Army and the tactical side of the Army. But as I came into the command, so I've been in command 3 months, and as I came into the command, I decided the simplest, as I looked at things and said, okay, who am I as a leader? And that didn't change. So I wasn't going to change my style to fit the new type of organization that I'm going to lead. I'm going to, be who I am. And that's probably the first and foremost thing I would tell, and I have told all of my subordinate leaders throughout my career, is you got to figure out who you are. And I think that's what emotional intelligence is really all about, is understanding who you are as a person. Don't fake it.
So I'm the Air Force captain that gets to follow the Army colonel here. Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a real, powerful story, I guess. I mean, I probably have a lot of the same experiences that most everyone in this room has in terms of, we've all been led by folks that we wouldn't want to emulate, and others that, we definitely would want to, but like Dr. Devine said, like the colonel, to his point, there's no real kind of secret sauce to it. There's no magic to it. It's pretty straightforward, and it's kind of common sense in terms of, you know, how you apply emotional intelligence to leading others. You basically, you try to emulate the kind of character traits that, you know, most folks would want to have as part of their character. You know, humility, you know, sincerity, that type of thing. So, you know, whenever I think back to, you know, whether it's in the military or in my time at J&J, the folks that have been good leaders, it's those types of folks. You know, I mean, you think, and also, I mean, you know, just in terms of, you know, applying it to, you know, actually having success in your career, whether that's in the military or in the civilian world, you know, I mean, you take a look at folks that, you know, kind of get promoted through the ranks and that sort of thing. You know, folks that, you know, if you're in accounting and finance, you know, get to the manager level or get to director or get to VP. You know, they don't get promoted because, you know, they can put together, you know, a great NPV analysis, or they really know their debits and credits. I mean, they get promoted because they have those types of character traits, more of the soft skills that actually make them a good leader.
Referent authority is what comes from leaders who respect and trust you and then follow you. Laura?
The man I respect most in the world is my daddy, and he's gone. And in the last couple of years since he passed, I find myself with a new awareness of our relationship, of what it was like, of the lessons he taught me, and of the men that I've surrounded myself with since then. And I remember quipping to my soulmate that I sort of wish my mom had given me the same advice my dad had, because I might have a whole lot more women in my life as well. But Dad said, surround yourself with men who you most respect, who you most trust, who you most want to spend your time with, who will engage you conversationally, who will keep you intellectually challenged, and you will succeed in everything you do in life. And I brought that back again in another conversation that I was having with the same gentleman, and I said, Bob, I think that when I have surrounded myself with people who are invested in me more than I am, they've egged me on, they've challenged me, they've given me puzzles to solve, made it fun for me. And all of those things to me is really what speaks to leadership and influence. As the LinkedIn Diva, being Forbes top 50 social media power influencers, I kind of fell out of my chair one day. I thought it was a joke.
Leadership becomes synergistic, exponential in its effect.
Well, I had the opportunity, I went right into the Marine Corps, I enlisted in the Marine Corps, and I spent probably the first third of my career as an enlisted guy. Had the opportunity to become a warrant officer and then a regular officer. I had a great time. I spent 28 years of my life doing that. I wouldn't get back a single day of it. But you had asked a question earlier when you started talking, and you said, what is it that made that leader, that one leader that you have served with or served under, different from all the others? And I did see a few people in the audience. They had that experience, but I want to tell you a little bit about an experience that I had with such a person. I was a young man serving on Okinawa, and I had gotten into some trouble. You know, your Marines, they work hard, they play hard, and I got into a little bit of trouble when I was off duty. And it was the kind of trouble where in that time it was kind of a zero defect mentality, where just a little blemish on your record could be the end of a career. But there was a young officer who saw something in me. He saw something worth saving, because at the time my career, as short as it was likely going to be over. So this gentleman, his name is Tim Rollins. He saw something in me that was worth saving, and here was a guy who, throughout my career, I had crossed paths with him, and he has kept in contact with me throughout my entire career, and even until today. And I've learned so much from this gentleman, and what had set him apart from probably the rest of them was he cared. You know, it takes time. What the Colonel said about leadership, I absolutely agree. And there really is nothing so special about it, but you have to take the time, and to care takes time. So I'm sitting in Dr. Devine's class a couple of weeks ago, and he asked me how things were going. I had a little bit of struggle when I took my uniform off and switched over to be a civilian. The transition was not as easy as some may think. I guess some it's easy for, others are not. It was just not that easy for me. And he asked me, what is one of the things that you struggle with? You say that this is hard. And I told him, I struggle to care. And that may seem odd, but I did. I struggled to care. Not that I didn't care for women and men when I was in uniform, I most certainly did. But it was a new animal working with all civilians. And it took me a little bit of time to care. But I do care, and I genuinely care. So I think if I had to point out one thing that makes a good leader or a great leader, it's taking the time, knowing your people, and caring about your people.
So maybe in closing, what I would say is that being involved in Alpha has definitely helped me do that self-realization into the type of leader I want to be. I remember their first convention in 2006, and I was just blown away. And every time I go to an Alpha event, whether it's the convention, and by the way, I'm going to go fly, the convention is going to be in New York City next year, so you should definitely attend. Every time I go to the convention or an event like tonight, I always challenge myself, and I'm going to challenge you, take something away from the event and learn from it, apply it, and talk to your colleagues, like Tori said, talk to your bosses, your colleagues about what is it that you want. And that's one thing that Alpha has helped me realize when I was a young manager growing up at EY, is that it's not good enough to just keep your head down and do hard work. You really have to raise your voice, raise your head up. You have to see what's coming at you in order to react. And if you're not given an opportunity to become a leader or act as a leader, so in that situation it doesn't present itself to you, you have to reach out and find situations that give you an opportunity to exercise your leadership skill. Because to me, I believe leaders are made, and it's a muscle you have to exercise. And if you're not exercising it, then what's the point, right? So again, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed it.
Y así es, amigos, soy la profesora Mirka Medina y me encuentro reportando desde Downtown, como siempre llevándole a todos ustedes el mejor contenido. Me encuentro acompañada con la presencia de un veterano, el señor Pacheco. ¿Cómo se siente hoy?
De lo mejor.
Bueno, ya que hemos disfrutado de una organización tan importante, el speech que hicieron, un evento importante que nuestra comunidad lo va a apreciar bastante a través de este programa Aquitvshow, yo quiero que usted nos diga a nosotros qué tan importante es en su vida la organización Alfa.
Claro, pues sí, la organización Alfa, y muchas gracias por atender hoy y nuestra televidencia que van a ver este programa. Estar con Alfa es una cosa demasiado importante, especialmente que nuestra comunidad necesita. Más de 35,000 tenemos que son participantes y que son miembros de nuestra organización y que son envueltos, son involucrados. Cada día nuestra gente latina está buscando oportunidades de crecer aquí en los Estados Unidos, ¿sí o no?
Claro que sí.
Y exactamente, y eso es parte de nuestra organización, ser americano. Nosotros siempre decimos hay que ser más que nosotros, hay que ser americanos. Y eso nosotros estamos a decir, como dice Wilder Valderrama siempre dice, hay que siempre tener una bandera, la bandera americana. Y Alfa es el que hace eso para nuestra comunidad.
Bueno, y vamos a hablar un poquito sobre su experiencia como veterano.
Claro, pues fue una de las mejores experiencias de mi vida. Siempre digo, yo tuve uno de los mejores trabajos, trabajaba yo en Wall Street antes de irme al ejército y regresé otra vez a Wall Street. Pero mi experiencia con el ejército no puede ser completamente más que dicho que mejor. Y fue una experiencia que me ha llevado a todo el mundo, que fui a ver todas las partes, de lo mejor del mundo al peor del mundo. Pero siempre fue con gente, siempre fue la experiencia de tener gente que reportaba a mí y yo reportaba a. Y es una cosa que se puede decir, que es una experiencia que nunca se puede comprar ninguna otra cosa en este mundo.
Y hablando de esa experiencia, tenemos también que comentarle a nuestro público que uno de los enfoques de Alfa es enseñar a todos sus integrantes sobre el liderazgo, claro, que fue algo también que nosotros pudimos apreciar y yo personalmente pude aprender bastante. Vamos a ver qué consejo usted le puede dar a nuestra teleaudiencia sobre el liderazgo.
Bueno, la primera cosa es que debe ser usted mismo. ¿Y qué es eso? Simplemente hay que decirse que usted debe saber quién usted es. Si usted sabe quién usted es y quién usted quiere hacer y qué es la misión de la organización, puede usted hacer lo que usted quiera hacer, especialmente cuando viene a ser un tago, cuando viene a ser una parte de la organización o simplemente una cosa que se debe decir, ser líder en gente. Especialmente en nuestra comunidad tenemos que ser líderes. Toda comunidad tiene su líder y nosotros latinos tenemos que buscar nuestros líderes y identificarlos y decir, este es un líder de nuestra comunidad.
Muchas gracias, señor Pacheco. Yo quiero que usted sepa que para nosotros es un honor su tiempo tenerlo aquí compartiendo con nosotros, pero en un futuro queremos tenerlo desde nuestros estudios, así que pase un buen fin de semana y nosotros continuamos en Aquí TV.